celebrate the life of Jeffrey Marshall Markley and to share the ways he touched our lives. I'm Jeff's daughter, Kim. I want to thank each of you for your presence and for the kindness, care, and friendship shown to my dad during his life, especially during his illness, where I couldn't always be here with him. Thank you to Rebecca, Michelle, and the rest of the Marriott staff for allowing us to meet here where my dad once worked and for their assistance with this event. Thank you to Erica, who made a ham for the luncheon. Thank you to Corey for the amazing job she did on the video and the programs. And many thanks to the family and friends who agreed to speak today. With that, I'd like to introduce my cousin Tina to get us started.
I like that his hat's here. So my name is Christina Verna, and my mom, Joan Kratz, is Jeff's sister, and she couldn't be here today. We live up in Pennsylvania, and she asked me to read the following in honor of her brother, and it gives you a little insight into a young Jeffrey. So, she said, "I'd like to thank all of you, friends, neighbors, co-workers, for the kindness and caring you showed my brother Jeff, and for your help through his illness. He often spoke of how wonderful all of you were to him and how much fun he had with you. As a young boy, Jeff loved to fix things and see how they worked. If he got a new toy, like a truck or a tractor, he had to take the wheels off and anything else he could take apart just to see how everything worked. He was fascinated at a young age by how everything worked. I guess that's how he became a Mr. Fix-It. I don't think there was anything he couldn't fix. I'm sure all of you at the Marriott found there wasn't much he couldn't fix or do. When he got a little older, he took an interest in boats. Living very close to the Lehigh River, we loved to be at, on, or near the water. At about 10 years old, he and his friend built a small boat. They called it, as I remember, the Sea Dog. We had many fun times with that boat. His interest in building boats was again sparked in his 30s. He and a friend started building boats. They were 16-foot speedboats, and they actually got a patent for them, and they were called Stingers. Jeff was always a fun guy. He loved to joke, tease, make people laugh. As young kids, I didn't appreciate his teasing me, which caused many spats between us. I was the quiet, sensitive one and didn't find his teasing very funny at that age. As I got older, I realized this was part of his great sense of humor. Over the years, it became a joke between us about his teasing me when I was little. Every year, I would send his birthday card telling him what a great brother he was. I'd have to add that little line, "Except you're teasing me as kids. When we became teenagers, we became very close. I overheard my dad say to my mom, "We have to watch these two. They now stick together and cover for each other." And he was right. We did much more than he knew. After graduation from high school, Jeff joined the Navy and was on the USS Boxer, an aircraft carrier, during the Cuban Missile Crisis. After his tour of duty with the Navy, he was fortunate to find a good job at Bethlehem Steel's Homer Research Center in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, as a Class A electrician for 36 years. After his retirement from Homer Research, he worked for the Hampton Inn in Allentown until he and his beloved Peggy moved to Florida, as he was offered a job with the Marriott Courtyard in West Palm Beach, which he loved. He loved Florida, again living near the water. He loved to ride his bike and go for walks on the beach. He was also a great dancer, and when we went out as couples, you always had a fun time watching his silly moves on the dance floor just because he knew it would make us laugh. I knew he was always there for me for advice or just to chat if he wasn't in the middle of fixing something. Yes, we had our disagreements too, like all siblings, but our love and appreciation for each other got us past those times quickly. When he was diagnosed with MDS, he continued to work, never complaining, keeping his positive attitude and sense of humor, even though the chemo treatments left him tired for a few days after. My brother was so brave. When a new medical condition would appear, he forged ahead with his positive attitude and asked the doctors, "Okay, what do we do to fix this?" He did whatever he had to do to fix his condition. He fought to the end with great bravery until there was nothing else that could be done to fix his condition. The last 2 months were difficult, but he had his wonderful daughter Kim with him, who he loved dearly and who made those last 2 months happy for him. I know he would want us all to go on, be happy, smile, and think of the fun memories. I miss my wonderful, fun-loving, brave brother, but I have great memories. I know someday we'll be together again. In the meantime, he is always with me. And I didn't want to get up in front of you without saying something as his niece. I brought along a couple cards that he wrote me and a recent text. I always look forward to what he would write inside the cards because he's funny. So the first one I brought, he wrote, Tina, my favorite niece. And he always said my favorite niece, but I was his only niece. But it still made me feel good. So, I'm sure this will be late. Sorry, as a retiree, time is scarce, so is the memory. Hope you had a good day, maybe took off. Love, Uncle Jeff. And then this was the most recent card he gave us, and I'll read the card first, but Kim and Uncle Jeff picked this out. And it says, if you ever thought too much about all the places in your home your pet has touched with his naked butt, you'd have to move. We have pets, a cat and a dog. Hope you find a nice place to eat your birthday cake. And he put, happy birthday, Tina. I know you like off-the-wall humor like your uncle. This selection by Kim and me is definitely off the wall. Tell Dottie not to take this wrong. Dottie's our dog. Truly wish you the best. Don't work so hard. Love, Uncle Jeff. And, oops, he and I texted each other frequently. And one of his last texts I wanted to read. Thank you, Tina, for all your kind words throughout all the years. You've always been special to me, as we see so many things the same. Same great humor, and you even work too hard like me. Ha ha, slow down. Kim has been so awesome to be here. She has also been such a great nurse, very helpful for me. Hospice is well equipped to help me last a while longer, so we'll have more conversations. Love, Uncle Jeff. And to me, again, it's just like him, very positive thinker, wanting to make us feel better that we had more time together, and that maybe things weren't as bad as we thought. He was gone 4 days later. He was very special. I'll miss him greatly and our connection, but I'm comforted knowing he is now with his loved Peggy and my grandparents, and most of all, that he is finally at peace.
Alright, my name is Brandon Verna, and this is a poem from my great uncle Jeff. It's called Celebrate My Life. Remember me with love and joy, let gratitude fill your heart. Thankful for the time we had, gone, yet not apart. If we measured life in moments, not in months or years, I lived 100 lifetimes. Loved by all who hold me dear. I hope you find your smile and generously speak my name to share stories in my heart. Your love of life unchanged. Celebrate the life I live. I'll be watching from above. I'm always with you, sending you my light and love. Thank you.
My dad, Jeff, truly loved life and lived it so well. He married at just 20 years old and had 2 children by the age of 23. It wasn't his plan to become a family man at such a young age, but he certainly met the challenge. He loved us, provided for us, protected us, and taught us so much. I feel blessed to be his daughter and grateful for the time we had together. We always enjoyed each other's company, and I was here with him in Florida the last 2 months of his life. It was kind of like old times when I lived with him as a young adult while I attended graduate school. We had fun grocery shopping, cooking, and watching TV or movies together. We watched numerous basketball games as it was during the NBA finals. He liked to go to Wendy's for lunch. He still drank chocolate milk and had a sweet tooth. We also reminisced about many things. He said he really enjoyed the plays and skits my sister and I put on after dinner when we were children. Most of our material came from the show Laughing or storybooks like Rumpelstiltskin. I'm sure they were a hoot. He remembered how he cracked up every time we raced at something like running or swimming because we would always say, "Steady, rec, go," instead of "ready, set, go." He liked things slick and quick. When I was about 5 years old, my mom was away for a few days. I was taking some kind of antibiotic, and he just handed me the pill to take. And I said, "Mom always crushes it on a spoon with some juice." He thought for a second or two, and he said, "Chew it." I remember thinking, we're in Dad's world now. But that was a great place. He made what we called dippy eggs for breakfast and gourmet hot dogs with cheese for lunch. I loved to ride along with him wherever he went, a quick trip to the general store or the auto parts store, or a longer trip to the lake or mountains. He taught us how to ride bike. He never bothered with training wheels, though. He just pushed us a bit and then let go. We crashed into bushes until we got it. He taught us how to dance in the living room. He loved to tease, and he was fun to be around. But he also knew when to discipline, and ultimately that too is a form of love. He built multicolored storage shelves for our playroom and put together our toys. He had toys of his own too. He was always tinkering with or polishing some car, boat, or tractor. He and a friend actually had their own company called Aqua Glass Corporation for a while in the early 70s. They made beautiful boats, but later sold that business. He did that on the side while working full-time at Bethlehem Steel. He also completed many home projects and renovations and could build or fix just about anything. He was a perfectionist, and his work was always top-notch. As we grew older, he teased us sometimes relentlessly about clothes, the music we listened to, and of course boys. But we also had many heart-to-hearts. He did his best to guide us and help us make good choices. I never wanted to discipline him, and I always valued his opinion. We would often get into deep conversations at dinner or sitting on the porch outside. My parents divorced in 1979 after 17 years of marriage. Although it was difficult, I gave both my parents credit for putting their kids first. They always said that the other was a good parent, and we spent quality time with both of them. My dad was very handsome, and his personality attracted many women in the years afterward. Although he had some relationships, he cherished his independence. In 1998, he met his sweetheart Peggy at a dance class, and that relationship blossomed into something special. My dad retired from Bethlehem Steel Homer Research Labs in 2000 after working there as a Class A electrician for 36 years. He walked me down the aisle later that same week, and we danced at the reception to Celine Dion's Because of You. He went to work at a Hampton Inn as a facilities engineer shortly after. One day, about a year later, I got a voicemail on my answering machine that said something like, "Hey there, Kimmer, I'm moving to Florida." So in June 2001, Jeff, Peg, and their beloved cat, Finny, left Pennsylvania and came to the Sunshine State. Or so they thought. My dad recalled that it rained pretty much every day that first month, and they wondered what they had gotten themselves into. This past June was similar and reminded him of that time. They made Juno Beach their home, and it suited them well. My dad really liked his job and the people he worked with here at the Marriott. He was able to spend more time outdoors, boating, fishing, bicycling, and walking on the beach. Peggy faced health challenges first, and then later my dad, but they both stayed positive. They were great partners and took care of each other. When I called, she would often say, "Kim, your dad is so good," and then tell me some sweet thing he did. He soldiered on after she passed away at the end of 2016. My dad was the most determined person I ever met. He didn't let his health challenges get the better of him. He courageously battled MDS for the last 10 years. He endured more chemo treatments, blood transfusions, and bone marrow biopsies than most people could handle. It wore him down, but he still kept his sense of humor. Even near the end, he often told me that life is good. His is one to be celebrated for his ability to smile and make us smile, for his kindness and concern for others, and for his bravery and positivity throughout his illness.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Mary's daughter, Corey.
First and foremost, thank you all for joining us today as we celebrate the life of Jeff Markley. Jeff, or Jeffer, as I often refer to him as, was and always will be something special. He was one of a kind. My mom and Jeff met in November over 20 years ago at a 50s dance. They both loved to dance to music from years past that reminded them of the good old days. I remember the night Jeff and my mom went on their first date. It was at this point in time I was the one wanting to know where my mom was going, what time she thought she'd be coming home, followed by a gazillion questions about her new friend. Little did I know that her new friend was exactly who she had been looking for. He was above everything else and a true partner. Jeff encompassed so many different qualities and talents. He was a methodical engineer, not only by trade, but by the way he took on chores around the house, daily activities, researching stocks, and one of my favorites, witnessing him wrapping paper on the floor by laying out the wrapping paper with a straight edge ruler, making sure there were exactly 3 inches on either side for the perfectly wrapped gift. My mom and I joked to never question the engineer's judgment or way of doing things. There was always a very good and solid reason why, and we left it at that. When Jeff and my mom decided to move to Florida, it was a hard decision. On one hand, they wanted to live someplace warm and beautiful, and then on the other, it was hard to leave family and friends behind. They had each other, and over time, they found new friends. Their new friends had become their new network, and the hotel served as a safe haven during hurricanes, and there was always a story, each and every day. The hotel brought many smiles and stories. As we are all aware, life is short in the grand scheme of things. The Thursday before Jeff passed away, he said to me that he had lived a good life. He was ready to go whenever the time came. Jeff and I shared a definite belief, and it's the quality of one's life that matters, not the quantity of years. Looking back and realizing how short life is, I'm glad that they moved to Florida when they did, and were able to enjoy it amongst the beautiful people they met here, who were not only friends, but were like family. I am, and the rest of my family in Pennsylvania are forever grateful for Jeff. He was not only my mom's partner, but he was there for me and all of us ever since they met. He was thoughtful, caring, compassionate, a great dancer, helpful, simple, a deep thinker, and encouraging. So today, as we celebrate the life of Jeff Markley, may we all be reminded to take one day at a time, to make the best of things, and to keep moving forward.
To see all of these floral hats. This right here, if you worked in this hotel, you knew what this hat meant. This meant that Jeff was out at the pool, cleaning the pool. It was out gardening out front, planting flowers, trimming bushes, landscaping. If this hat was on his head, he was outside somewhere. So these hats actually make me feel very special. We were talking earlier, Michelle and I were talking about, I wish we could find some floral hats to wear. He did have a lot of them, that's for sure. So I will say that I want to follow up with what they both said. This job for him was a family. It was close. Jeff always had my back, no matter what. I have a few little stories that I want to share But the first one I want to talk about is in 2008, I had the opportunity to nominate Jeff to be manager of the quarter for Concord Hospitality, which is a company we used to work for. And then that being done, he did win, which was awesome. And then he was then nominated for a President's Award, which was the highest honor that you could get within our company at the time. And it brought all of him and Peg to Las Vegas. He won, he was on stage with me, and he literally had the most amazing time. Maybe had a little bit too much to drink, but I think he was nervous. But he did have an amazing time, and I was so honored to be able to present him with that award in 2008. So I'm just gonna read you what I wrote of Jeff, and many of you will probably understand this is exactly Jeff. So, a superhero engineer. Here he comes to save the day with the cleanest maintenance shop in hotel history. Literally. Everyone that's been here at this hotel knows that that's a fact. That is the best way to start to describe Jeff Markley. Jeff was an integral part of the opening team here at the Courtyard West Palm Beach Airport and has remained an invaluable team member. Constant controller of expenses. His budget is always in line and he hates to spend money fruitlessly. Demander of quality. He constantly searches for the highest quality ways to keep the hotel performing at its best. He has an amazing work ethic like I've never seen. He's available 24 hours a day to save the world, AKA the Courtyard. He will work 7 days a week if it's warranted. He is always available to help out in other departments and is not afraid to voice his opinion, absolutely, if it is better to serve the guest. Jeff has been a constant voice in demanding guest satisfaction improvements and is always focused on serving our guests. His team is a direct reflection of him, and together they are super engineers, and they should all be wearing big E's on their chest. Using this super green thumb, he keeps the grounds around the hotel looking beautiful and lush. All work orders are responded to with a quickness and just a beckon on the radio. He wears many hats at the hotel, even driving the guests in the super hotel van. He, above all, is an absolute ally to me and has stood out to be a great sounding board and friend. He truly cares about the people at the Courtyard, associates, and guests. He deserves to be the manager of the quarter and is really a superhero, constantly keeping the peace and securing the safety of all in the Courtyard West Palm Beach Airport. So it was the best way and only way that I could describe him and working with him. And luckily we had that moment to share together in Vegas where we got to award him with the President's Award. So I also have a few little stories that I want to share. I remember one day Michael came to me, Jeff came to me in my office and he said to me, he said, you know, I got this kid. He's working at the gas station by my house. And I said, okay. He says, you know, I go in there every week and he knows my name. He's like, I just come in once a week, but he still knows my name. He's like, I think we should hire him. I think he'd be good here. I think he'd fit. And I said, well, have him come meet me. That's fine. You know, whatever. I trust you. So this young 20-year-old, 21-year-old maybe, barely, comes to meet me at my office. And I said, okay, yeah, let's do it. Jeff says you're a good guy. Okay, let's bring him on board. And unfortunately, Michael cannot be here today. He's on a family vacation with his family and kids, and that's where Jeff would want him to be anyways. But Jeff and Michael became very close, and Jeff would say, what did he call him, Kim?
His number one son.
His number one son. And oh my God, as I'm looking right now, that was when Jeff was in Vegas. Sorry, that picture just swapped, but it was so pretty. Him and Peg were so beautiful. But so Michael, the number one son that Jeff so fondly always kind of referred to him as, Kim was able to bring some fishing poles that Jeff had for Michael a few weeks ago. And here we are, me and a few other employees standing in this meeting room just bawling our eyes out because this young man is receiving these fishing poles and just crying emotionally like we've never seen him before because of the relationship that Jeff took on this young gas station attendant to change his career for the rest of his life. And Michael actually gave me a card for you, so I'll give it to you later. He was sad he couldn't be here, but he took pictures of the fishing poles yesterday, and they were fishing out with them on the boat yesterday. So I know that means a lot to him. It really does. And so I want to go back to the last text message that Jeff sent me too. Jeff would always text me for my birthday, would always come and take the girls out for the birthday, his ladies, Miss Erica, Miss Michelle, and I, and treat us to a lavish lunch and everything for my birthday. It was so sweet, and we did it the last couple years. This year we didn't do it, and now I know why. But he called me on the 5th. My birthday's on the 2nd. He called me on the 5th, and he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm late. You know, I just got out of the hospital." I said, "Oh, don't worry about it, you know." I said, "It's fine. This was the 5th. We had a nice conversation." He told me that some of the things that had happened. And I said, "Okay, well, you stick it out, you know, you do what you can or whatever." And 2 days later, I had the girls in the office, and I took a selfie with myself, with Miss Linda, who's at the front desk now, with Michelle and Miss Indasha, and I sent it to him, and I said, "Look at your girls, we're all here." And he's just like, "Oh, my beautiful ladies," you know. And I sent him a picture of my daughter because he always wanted to see my daughter. He called her Lily Baker. That's not her name, but he called her Lily Baker because he was watching some financial program and some financial commercial came on, and because anybody who knows Jeff knows that he did a little in the stock market. And this little girl's on this commercial, and her name's Lily Baker, and he always said she looked just like my daughter. And so he says, I sent him a picture of Lily Baker, and he's like, "Oh, she's getting so big. Look at those long legs, you know." And then he says, after the picture of the girls, and Michelle's in there, he says, "Is Sparky still Sparky?" And anybody who knows Jeff knows that he called Michelle Sparky. And I said, "She's always going to be Sparky." That was the last text message he sent me. So the day that Kim calls me, Sparky's in the office with me, right beside me. And Jeff's number calls up on my phone, and I said, "Hello, sir," with the biggest cheery grin. And I hear Kim's voice, and Michelle and I literally just lost it. And I said, okay, you know, okay, thanks, Kim, for calling me, you know, and please let me know what happens. I want to be a part of it and everything. So later that day, Michelle's driving, and she is driving behind a truck. And why is a license plate on that truck say Sparky? Oh. That same day. And she took a picture of it. Thankfully, she didn't wreck or anything. Took a picture of it and sent it to me. And she said, "Jeff is saying hey." And I said, "Absolutely." I said, "Oh my God, like, he's not only speaking to you, but he's speaking to me, because his last message to me was Sparky still Sparky." And I was like, I have goosebumps just thinking about it. And I sent that text, or I think I sent that picture of the license plate to you too, and I was just like, okay, yes, you're still trying to like make us laugh from wherever you are, you know? And yes, Sparky will still always be Sparky, and that was a special moment for her, and I was so glad that she witnessed it and saw the connection that he was trying to make with her, which is awesome. And so that's all I got to share. But he was a super special guy, and always like a part of our family here at the courtyard, and none of us will forget him. There's so many things in this building that still say Jeff on them, you know, that he's put his name on it or his handwriting, and none of us will forget that, and none of us will ever forget what he did for us here. So, thank you.
My name is Ann, and I live in the same development where Jeff lived down here in Florida. So, and Jeff has lived in the same development since he moved down here. This was probably about 18 years ago. He lived in the same building as me for 1 or 2 years with Peg, and then moved into the building right next door. So I met him as soon as he moved in, him and Peg, and I was just immediately touched by how warm and friendly and approachable both Jeffrey and Peg were. So it was very easy to get to know him and Peg. So I just wanted to share some things about Jeff that struck me over the years. And I just have to say, I really love all the stories that you shared, because those are parts of Jeff that I never even knew about, and I just wish I would have had a chance to see him dance. So I'd love to share some video. All right. So
under his wing and kind of blessed you with like a fatherly kind of a presence. So when I think of Jeff, these words come to mind. Kind, caring, selfless, despite his struggles the last few years. He always wanted to know first how you're doing, and never really talked about his illness unless you asked about it. Smiles, I always think of Jeff smiling. Cheerful, warm, appreciative. He was always appreciative of everything, his family, his friends, his life. Encouraging. He's always encouraging, and as many people have said today, optimistic. He was always so positive and optimistic, always moving forward despite what obstacles came his way. He just accepted it and said, okay, how are we going to deal with this today? Inspiring, and again, it goes back to his optimism. I was always so impressed by his positive spirit throughout everything. It inspired me. He was smart and an interesting person. He was so inquisitive about everything. Independent, and almost to a fault. Sometimes I wish he would have asked for help when he needed it, but he just had to try to figure it out himself. He seemed so. So easygoing and friendly, and again the hats. So this is just Jeff. He could frequently his dress code in Florida was Bermuda shorts, flip-flops, a t-shirt, unbuttoned down Oxford, and his hat. Simple. He didn't need grandiose, big things. He appreciated the small things in life. The smallest things made him happy. He was strong, and he was a fighter, and he was determined. And he's special. There's nobody like Jeff. So I spent some time with him. It was hard for me to pull him away. A lot of times, both him and Peg, they like to spend time together. So the last couple of years, he missed Peg, and so I was able to pull him out a bit more, and we would trade restaurants and go out and have some nice conversations. And I got to know more about his favorite things. So some of his favorite things, things that made him happy, were the Outback Steakhouse. The occasional Mai Tai at the Outback Steakhouse. He really liked his home in Florida, and he really liked his kitchen window, the view outside his kitchen window. He liked playing the market, and he liked to give fatherly advice about suggestions of how to invest your income in Roth IRAs and such. He really enjoyed watching sports. So he loved to go out and have a dinner, but he tried not to miss his sports. So he loved to socialize with his neighbors and get to know people. He enjoyed the moment. He was always seemed to be living in the moment. He never sweated the small stuff. He really enjoyed just cooking dinner with Peggy, and he especially loved surf and turf night. We talked about that often. The last few years, how he really enjoyed that. He loved his bike rides along the beach and back, and he enjoyed his walks around the community. Saw him every day walking around the community. He loved his work at the Marriott, his family here. He loved his cat Finny, and he loved his family and his extended family. Corey, he talked about you often, and he loved his love of his life as Peg, and he often talked about her. He often referred to her as his sweetie, and he often mentioned that he knows he'll see her again one day. And lastly, he loved his life, and he often talked about how grateful and thankful that he is for his life and everything that's been going on over the years, and how blessed he feels for his life. And he said he has no regrets. He's lived a full life. So that's it. Thank you.
Just going to open it up to the room if there's anybody else that would like to say something. You can come up front, or you can just speak up in the setting.
He was a gentleman's gentleman. The twinkle in his eye.
You must be Michelle.
I am.
Because you said that when we talked on the phone. Thank you.
Oh, I'm Dee. I'm his nurse.
Oh.
I guess I was
excellent care
the
of him.
niece that he never told you guys about. Hey, Dee,
You're
this
the
is
new
Uncle
favorite,
Jeff
right?
right here.
Aw.
You know, I'll greatly miss him. He, yeah, I miss him. Yeah.
They took very good care of him.
I knew him as Puddin'. Peggy's Puddin', and the great story is just a lovely man. So really appreciate him.
She always called him that.
I'm Erica. If anybody know, Jeff and Peg always call me Peaches.
Peaches.
Yeah, so I have only one story to share, and that's when I first started working here. And me and him bumped heads. Of course, we the same sign, so I was cleaning a room one day, so he was trying to tell me what to do. I didn't hear nothing he said. I just kept back and said, "You can't tell me nothing about maintenance. I already know." And from that day, he told Miss Caroline I was on his shit list. So, which is Miss Caroline is not here. Unfortunately, she had to be at another funeral with her family. But him and he told Miss Caroline that I was never gonna make it. Miss Caroline told him, yes, she's gonna make it. Then he came back and said, yes, Eric is gonna make it.
And you did.
I met Jeff in, but, I met Jeff in, 2003 when I first moved to Florida. John was already waiting for me, and unlike Erica, I wanted to know everything about maintenance, so he did teach me some maintenance stuff, and, he was a wonderful man. And him and Peg used to always, Peg used to bake those little cakes. He used to bring them to us. Yeah, when I heard, I was really heartbroken, but Jeff was a really good man. He was good.
I think any of us who ever got one of those little cakes from Peg,
Peg, yes.
literally like it changed your life.
And
Poppy seed cake? Yeah.
Look.
If anyone has that recipe, we need it.
Wait a minute, and we're not gonna forget the pumpkin roll.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or the chocolates, or she
The
always
Frosties from Wendy's.
Oh, the Frosties.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
just
always
with
gets
the frosty
Frosties
from
every week.
my daughter, which is not here, every day he go to Wendy's and he would stop by the front desk and ask her and bring her something back from Wendy's.
We
every
weren't
day.
allowed to tell Peg that he was going to win.
Oh, yeah. But every day, I know what you say, he went to Wendy's every day for lunch. So that part is so much.
I think Peg used to think he had a mistress at Wendy's. For real.
So their own friend.
Right. Yeah, their girlfriend was Wendy. Yes.
Named Frosty.
And he would bring back like 12 Frosties
For
literally,
everybody.
for
Take our
everyone.
orders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of our last trips to the doctor was a pacemaker check, and on the way back, like, we would normally get off exit 79, and he's like, we're gonna get off here, exit 77, I'm like, okay. We're going to Wendy's for lunch. Just like I should have been.
Yeah. He should have had stock in Wendy's.
Yeah.
They have. Probably. Yeah.
Maybe that's why he went there so often.
I'm Kim's husband and Jeff's son-in-law, and wanted to offer up a passage from Paul of Tarsus's testimony to Timothy. I am already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time for my departure is near. I I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, righteous judge, will award to me on that day, and not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing.
In closing, I'd like to thank everyone for being here today. Thank you for sharing your stories and memories of Jeff. You've made this a truly special and meaningful celebration of his life. I'm very appreciative that he had so many great friends and such a full life in his 77 years. And I hope you'll stay and join us for lunch in the dining area. Thank you so much.
Join us for refreshments out in the dining area.